Okay. So as yesterday, I think Divya asked also how SSH works. So we will start with the SSH only. Okay. So SSH is your secure socket protocol that is used for connecting to your server. Okay. So normally, whether you are using PuTTY or any terminal, you are using this SSH protocol to connect to those servers. Okay. Telnet is also one of the facility, but Telnet is not used because that is not secure. So this is a secure shell protocol, so that's why SSH is used. So what happens in an SSH? So let's say this is my server. Let me start this. Okay. So whenever a server is running, okay, remote server, whenever it is running, so SSH will have a fingerprint. Okay, it will be having a key that is called a key, which will be mapped and verified whether the user that is connecting is a genuine user or it's a middle attack or some type of error that is coming. So always whenever the first time a particular user would be connecting to a server, so that would be tested through keys. Okay, so when SSH is doing, it will make a fingerprint connection to verify whether you are connecting correctly or securely before it can connect to that specific system. Okay, so like, so first important thing for SSH is that you should know the IP address. Okay. So what is the IP address of my server or the remote server that I want to connect? So let's say this is my server that is starting right now, but I have to know the IP address. So by knowing the IP address, either you can use directly your IP, or what you can do, there is a file in host file that is called a host file where you will put the entry for that SSH. Okay. So let's say that is my server. This is my LFCS lab server. So this is the server which I am connecting on this virtual box. Okay. There are many servers. There are various different servers that I am using, but this is one of them that I am using for this particular session. So this is the specific IP address. So to connect to that particular host name, your IP should be in etc host file. Okay. If it is not there, you cannot use this host name because this host name has to be resolved into an IP address, and that is done via this specific host file. Either you should have a DNS server. So if DNS is there, then you can of course use your DNS server to connect. But in case you don't have a DNS server, or in mid-sized organization where DNS are not implemented, you can go ahead and use this specific setup where you can enter your IP address in the etc host file, and from there it will pick up the specified value. So let's say if I see ping LFCS, so whenever I ping, automatically it picks up my specified IP address. That means this instance is reachable now. This is the same instance that I am just starting. So this is started now. So that's why the ping command is coming here. If the instance is not reachable, if this instance is not reachable for me, so your ping command will fail and timeout. Okay, so you will not be able to ping. Like let's say this server, this is down right now. This is my server which is stopped right now. It is not running. Fun apps and FunDB. So if I go ahead and just ping this server, so it would be not be reachable. Okay, see there is no response coming. See for this, here we were getting response. So see it is saying destination host is not reachable by any. So whenever you have to check whether a particular instance is reachable or not, you have to use the ping command. Okay, ping, you can use IP address or you can use your host name. Okay, for host name it is important that you should be having a DNS, or the entry should be in the host file. Okay, any of two should be available for the host name. Okay, so even if I just ping my IP address, this IP address, if I go ahead and ping, this will also be pingable. Okay, so whenever an specific IP is connected, so let me first show you how it works. Okay, so right now if you see, my system is connecting to this specific ID where it is. I will do SSH LFCS. Okay, and it will connect to its desired host, whatever host is there, it will connect to that specific host name using the SSH protocol. Okay, so see it is connected now, and it is connected to this LFCS instance. Okay. So by default, see, I am just giving Himanshu LFCS. So what does this mean? This means that I am connecting to this host name, and by default it will use the same username. Let's say Himanshu is my username. So it will use the same username to connect here also. If this user is not here, if that user is not present on this server, it will fail. Okay. So if that user is not there, you will not be able to log in. So by default, you can do like this, or I will do SSH Himanshu @LFCS. So this will determine this is my username and this is my host name which I want to connect. Okay. So it will automatically connect to that specific host. So let's say if I am not using host name, you can connect using the IP as well. Okay. So it will also connect with the same specific IP. Okay, that IP is for the same system, so it will connect. Clear? Any questions in this?
No, Himanshu, understood.
Okay. So remember, by default, it will not, it will ask for password because I have here mapped the keys. So that's why it is not asking for any passwords, but by default, it will ask for a password. Let's say if I just do LFCS, let me see if I have mapped. So see, first time I'm connecting from a root to root LFCS. Okay, so by default I have not given any username, so it will pick root user to connect to LFCS. So see, it is first time asking what is the connection and this fingerprint, that if you want to continue to this system. Okay, so it will first verify the fingerprint of the target system. If you say okay, this is the correct system that I am connecting to, you have to press yes, and it will add that fingerprint to the known host, and then it will ask for password. I am connecting via root now. So first time, see, it is connecting with root to the target system. So what it is doing, it is asking whether you want to verify this is a known system. So once it is a known system, it will add the known system to the list of known hosts, and then it also will ask for a password because I have not saved the key. Either you can use the keys, like in your AWS instance you are using key where you don't have to give passwords. Okay, so either you can use the keys or you can use the password. So here I have to give a password to connect to this system of the root system. Okay, so it is connected to the root system here. Okay, so if you see here how it was doing it, so the known host file is there in the cd.ssh. There is a folder that gets created, and in the known host it will keep all those instances that you have connected earlier. So the mapping key will be here. Okay. So if you see here, the EDSA key, this key value would be stored in the known host file. Okay. So that next time if you connect, again the same command from root, it will not ask you for whether to verify this is, you want to verify the authenticity of this server or not. Okay, so it is not going to verify that, it will directly ask you the password. Okay, clear in this?
Yes, yes, Himanshu,
Okay,
clear.
so now by default behavior is to ask for password. Okay, now let's say you want, okay, I don't want to use password, I want to use passwordless connectivity. Many places you might need to use passwordless connectivity, or in, let's say, from your development to prod or test instance, you might be using also passwordless connectivity many times. Okay, so for that specific reason, how, what we can do to set up a passwordless connectivity, what you do normally, this is needed. Let's say I am running a script from one server and it is should run from to some other server. So many times you might need that, okay, there should be a passwordless connectivity so that every time it will not ask the password. The my script shouldn't ask for a password. Okay, so with SSH, whenever you are using SSH, so remember with SSH you cannot provide or you cannot input a password using a shell script. Okay, the prompt that is coming here, right? Whenever it is asking this password, whenever I'm doing SSH, you cannot automate this part because due to security restrictions, SSH will not take any inputs from a automated script. You have to only enter manually. So any type of script you write, it will not go ahead and use SSH will not use any password from any type of a script. It will not take for security reasons so that no one can hack directly SSH via providing some password through scripts. Okay, so you have to provide remotely, or what you can do, you can make a passwordless SSH connectivity. So to create a passwordless SSH connectivity, what you do, first step is that create SSH key pairs. Okay, you have to create a key pair, then you have to copy that key to your source system where you want to make the connection to. So copy the keys. Third, first time you have to make SSH so that my system will know, okay, this connection is authenticated and it will store the details. And fourth time, passwordless connectivity is enabled. Okay, automatically by fourth, when next time you do SSH, it would be enabled. Okay, so to generate a passwordless key, how we do? So see, right now in my .ssh only known host file is there. There are no key files. Okay, so now I will create a key file. So how to create a key file in system or Linux? Just do ssh hyphen keygen. Okay, this is the command to generate a keys. As soon as I hit enter, it says okay, it will create a pair of public and private key. Public key will be copied to your target system and private key would be on your source system, and they both would be used to unlock the connection. Okay, to verify the authenticity, both would be needed. Okay, so it will say which location you want to save the key. So by default I want to save the key here only, so that is fine. If you want to put any passphrase, like if you want even in passwordless connectivity there should be a password, so if you want, you can put it. By default, leave it blank, then again blank, and a key is generated now. If you see here, there is a public file and a private file. Okay, there is a public and private key that is generated here. Getting this? Any doubts in this step?
Yes, Himanshu.
Clear, right? Okay. So now, next I have to copy this. So let's say I have to copy this. So there is a very simple command ssh hyphen copy hyphen id. Okay, now what it will copy, it will copy your key from your source to your target system. Okay, okay, where is the file? So I have to copy my public key, so I will say public key, sorry, LFCS, my server name is LFCS, so I have to copy it to LFCS. So it will copy that. So see, it is automatically copying my public key here. Okay, so it will copy my RSA public key, this one, to my remote server. So if first time it will ask me the password, I will enter the password. Now it will say okay, number of keys added is this. Now what I can do, I will just do ls fcs. Okay, now if I do, automatic connection is there. Now see, no more password it is asking with me. Clear? Any doubts? Hello? Mhm. Any queries in this, anyone?
No, Himanshu.
Okay. Okay, so this way you can do the SSH connectivity from a source to target. If you want to do vice versa, So you have to go on your target system, then you have to generate keys, copy that, do the same process, and then from there also you can do a passwordless SSH connectivity to this system. Okay, this main target system, this system, you can go ahead and make the connection from here as well, from your target system. Okay, so that is the SSH part, how we do the SSH connectivity. I hope that was clear. So to generate SSH key pair, you have to use SSH hyphen keygen. Then to copy them, you have to just simple command is there, SSH copy hyphen ID, and as soon first SSH it will ask you the password, and then next time whenever you will do, you will be using it passwordless SSH connectivity. Okay.
Uh,
Yeah.
Himanshu, your screen has been stuck in. Yeah, now we're able to see.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay. So this is how your.
And also, Imanchu,
Uh-huh.
yeah, actually, while copying, we are using SSH hyphen copy
Yes.
ID and the
Host
host
name.
name.
Yes. Hmm.
So, in the copy ID, we are not mentioning whether it's a public key
No.
or private key. How it's taking only one key over there?
No.
Is it a common key?
No.
Yeah.
Always it will pick up a public key only. Public key is the key that is
Oh,
generated for your
okay.
source system. Private key you never assign to anyone. Private key is not given to anyone, right? Only public key is
Yeah.
given to anyone, like because this is for public only.
Yeah.
Private key if you give, so someone
Okay.
will break into your instance and they will can do anything. So always public key is given, but
Yeah.
they will always work in a combination of public and private key.
Okay.
Okay, so let me show you here. So see, I have copied this file. So what happens? So where this file goes? So let me show you.
Ah, okay, fine.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
So when I just do LFCS, sorry, LFCS. Mm-hmm. Okay. Due to a lot of training, this system is like too much experimented. It hangs again. Let me start. Just a second. It is starting. So public key is the only key that will be given to the public users or the target systems. Okay. Private key is always kept with you within yourself.
Okay.
Okay. Because if you see for
Okay.
AWS
Okay.
also, whenever
Fine.
you
Yeah.
are using this private key, right? So private key if you are having, you can connect. But if anyone stole your private key, you they can go ahead and connect to your AWS instance. They can do anything then. Okay, so it's like very restricted. You have to keep the private keys. So for security reasons also, many places what
Okay.
we do, like in real time scenarios, we keep changing these keys. Every time I will run SSH keys in let's say every month. So both private and public keys will change. Then again you have to copy it, but the main benefit is that even someone has stolen that, but now my public and private key are changed. Now someone cannot connect with the same public and private key. Okay, so that will be a safety measure.
Okay.
Let it start. I will
Mm.
show you.
Okay.
Let's see if it is coming. Okay. So I have connected with SA. Okay. So now if I go to .ssh folder would be there, and here also. So see, there are authorized keys. Which are the authorized keys that are here? So if you see, there is a connection from root here. So whatever is this key in the public key. So if you don't use copy, you can copy paste also there. Okay. So see, this is my key right now. Okay. So the same key is stored on my server here. If you see here, if you can compare, this is a big key. So it would be difficult to compare, but if you match it, everything is same here. Okay, this last entry.
Okay,
Okay, so
okay.
same entry of public. So there are two options. Either you use SSH copy -id, or you open this file, copy this content, then go to the target system, open this file, edit this file, paste that entry, and save it. That will also work the same way. So to avoid that much task, we directly do SSH copy ID. So it will automatically do the same thing.
Okay. Okay,
Okay.
fine, Himanshu.
So that's why this public key is stored in your target system authorized key. So anyone connecting from here, it will authorize. Now this public key and this private key, they will match. They will be used to connect and open up the connection to measure the authenticity. Like if you have seen, when you talk about a bank locker, right? Bank locker, there are two keys, right? One is with the customer, one is with the bank, right? Whenever you go to a bank locker, so what you do? Both the keys are inserted together to open that, right? It's not like even if you have one key, you cannot go ahead and use
Yes.
that, right? Even you have a customer key, until unless there is a key from the bank side inserted into that. So that is a private key, right? So that key is needed for opening of that locker, else that will be not authenticated. Okay, so same way here the combination of private and public key works. So see, if I, let's say, generate a new key pair for the same root, I am generating a new pair. Okay, it will say whether you want to overwrite it. I will say yes. So it will overwrite the entry, no passphrase, no passphrase. So if you see now, there would be change in it. The public and private key is changed now. It will not be exactly same as before. Okay. See, if you see the entry here, what was the entry here, and see the entry here, it is changed, QKBT and everything, lot of things. So if I again do LFCS, okay, see, it is asking me the password because it was not able to verify any public key stored on the target system. So again it is asking me a password. So I will say Oracle 123 and then it can log in. Okay, apart from that it cannot log in. Even see, because every time I regenerate my public and private key pair, the old one will be null and void. It will be of no use. Clear? I just now generated again and it overwrited the old ones. So now we have a new set of pairs. So normally in real-time systems or big systems, security systems, these are generated on a very regular basis. Mostly every 15 days, 1 week also they are keep getting changed so that those keys are always different. They are not same. Clear?